You know, a lot of times you would think, at least in my situation, you would think that coming from the city, you would have a better understanding of race relations, being a minority myself, that at that point in your life, in your mid-30s, you would already have sort of a set in stone idea of what the world is like. But this community changed my views. In the city, it's very easy to not be involved. It's very simple to, you know, somebody else is going to have to take care of that. I'm just living my life as. When I got here, to be completely and brutally honest, my church didn't have a great reputation in the community, which it now does, I'm glad to say. But I felt that we needed to change that. And so I started looking for ways to get involved in the community. And as I did that and started becoming, making friends and becoming involved in this community, it started to change a lot of preconceived notions that I had about race and about my place in things. And you know, in a small town, one person can make a difference. In a small town, one person can say, hey, we could do something here, and it gets done. Unlike in the city, which would never happen. It is remarkable. It is a microcosm of the greater United States. In concentrated form, it is like the espresso, like the Cuban coffee of the greater United States. And it's so weird because it's such a small town, but you have, you know, your neighborhood here that's this way, and your neighborhood right next door that's completely different, and you have all these little sections, and we're all trying to, you know, we all know each other. We know each other's names, and we know what everybody's about. In the city, it's like this anonymous force, you know, you're either for us or against us. Here, we know your name, and we know what you stand for, and you know, and we're able to have these conversations if people are willing. And I think that if I have accomplished anything at all, it's hopefully to spur some of these conversations. I think that this town is having conversations that should be happening everywhere. And I think since I've been here, in the last 12 years, I have seen people rise up from the community or come from the outside. And as an outsider, it's harder to break into these conversations, you know, the born here against the come here. But I have seen a dedicated group of people that are just wanting to have these conversations, that are wanting to forward this idea of how do we move forward. I've never lived in a place where that is so palpable. And this conversation is ongoing. I mean, if you know the right people, you're on Facebook or social media, this conversation is happening every day. And what we see perhaps when we have gatherings or meetings or some sort of event or something like that, those are the high points. But beneath all that, there is a whole ocean of conversations going on constantly. Is it all constructive? Is it all moving forward? No. But we have to have these difficult conversations before we can move forward. There's no way to circumvent, oh, we're all just going to get along now. No, that can't happen. And so I see these difficult conversations, sometimes very awkward. I see them as positive things because that's what they are. How do we fix this? And you see that catching on, that injustice is being tolerated less and less no matter where it happens. Of course, you know, there's people that are against that, and you know, we have people that are not as happy that we're having these conversations. And you know about the mural here, how somebody came and did a burnout on it, got caught on camera, and the station did a story on that as well. But even out of that, a very, very important conversation happened at the moment where leaders in the community came together and made a decision on the spot that if a black child or young person did something similar, that they would be given the same opportunities that this white kid was given. and not just have the book thrown at them like usual. I didn't expect anything like that to happen. I was there for the spectacle of an apology, frankly, and I thought that was newsworthy, and I recorded it, and I was there for that, and I thought it was that was good, that was healing. But I didn't expect what happened afterwards, where this just, and it was an eruption of sort of anger and whatever, but they came to a conclusion in this community where they said, yes, we're going to do things differently. We haven't even talked about housing, and that is for both the Hispanic and the Black community here in this community. That's one of the biggest issues that we have. And it's something that the housing issue here and the slumlords that we have, it's something that really bothers me, because it would seem to me like if you own property in this town or in this county, you have to ask yourself, if you own waterfront property here, you have to ask yourself, why does the property on the other side of the same river cost so much more than my property? And the answer is the slumlords. And even if you don't have a heart beating in your chest, if you have a wallet beating in your chest, that should bring you to some sort of action to say, hey, these guys are screwing up my stuff. They're screwing up my property values. They're screwing up, and even if it's for that reason, not for, hey, we need to help these people, but that's changing too. And now there's a group of younger people that are just mad. And I support that. They're getting further than we ever did, just being nice. And they're out there making a ruckus and having demonstrations, and I'm totally about it. We have to get rid of these slumlords for everybody's benefit. And what's good for Pine Street is good for the rest of Cambridge. We have to come to an understanding of that. Also, the history. Oh my goodness, the history is a key to our future here, because people want to know this. People want to understand what's going on here, and they want to come to this town to see it. And that's our economy, That's the future here. What I like about Cambridge is that certainly it's taking the opportunity of 2020, of the summer of 2020, to forward some of these conversations. But that's not where this started. This group of people that I'm talking about, and I want to give a shout out to Eastern Shore Network for Change and Alpha Genesis and all these other groups that are making this progress. And we've sat in this very room, Jermaine and Adrian and the leadership of the station, we sat in this very room, and that's where the idea for the film You Don't Know Nothing About Groove City came from. These conversations have been going on for years. This isn't a flash in the pan in this town. There are people who are also looking for opportunities, and there are people out there like Alpha Genesis who are making opportunities. I think that one of the brilliant things that is happening here is the whole idea as art, as a way to forward these conversations. And they had to convince me of this. But once that mural, the mural of Harriet Tubman came here, and I saw, because I walked here today. This is my community. I live right downtown. When I saw the hordes of people coming to this town to see that one mural and spending money in this town, and the conversations that these people were having, and I would stop by, and every time I stopped by, there's a group of people there, and I would say, hey, you want me to take your picture? And I would take their picture, and we'd have a beautiful time together, and they'd ask me questions. It was beautiful. Man, I'm sold. And the more art and the more projects and the more conversations that we can have, and there's people in this community that are set, that's what their goal is. You ask about the future. I think that Cambridge is going to continue doing what it was doing before 2020. A lot of other towns are having this awakening, but that's been going on here for years now. And we're having these conversations that, like I said, are difficult to have, but it's starting to be ingrained in our culture. And sometimes they get ugly, and sometimes they get out of hand. And sometimes I see friends of mine say things that I don't agree with. And when I see them privately, I say, hey, you should rethink this or that. And it goes on. But we're building trust. People people in this community know who they can take seriously and say, hey, when this person talks, we should listen, and we can have a conversation that could change minds.